Welcome to my channel. These slides that are rolling by are an indication of some of the things that I cover on a regular basis in my videos. Once you have watched the video, I would appreciate it if you would click the like button and leave a small comment. It's really a big help to the channel. The YouTube logarithm, when it sees that, promotes the channel more and will be more viewers. I would appreciate that very much. Thank you for watching. Well, hello everybody. I harvested my cabbages this morning. We haven't had any frost yet, but still they're not going to get any larger this time of year. 3 or 4 of them are a decent size, similar to something you might see in a store. And then behind them I have these. It always fascinates me how this happens with anything that you grow. In the same bed, planted at the same time, the same package of seeds, you get some decent sized ones, and like that thing there could be a Brussels sprout on steroids, I guess. At any rate, I'm going to try making sauerkraut. I have made it before, 2 or 3 different times, using various different kinds of equipment. I'm not sure that I ever used the mason tops to make sauerkraut. I have pickled other things using mason tops, but I'm not sure I did with the sauerkraut. But I'll bring you over in a minute and show you what I'm talking about anyway, and we'll get this process started. Well, that's the fancy box that the mason tops come in. And what you get is, I'm going to have to turn this around so that I can read the funny names that they put on these things. They call this a pickle packer. It's a piece of wood pounding instrument, a different dimension on each end, so that you can either pound it down inside the mason jar or in a bowl, whatever you're using. But that is to get the juices to start coming out of the cabbage. And then there are 4 of these, and they call those pickle pebbles. It's a piece of glass, and you use that as a weight on the top of the jar to hold the cabbage under the brine. If any of it comes above the brine, it will spoil. So you'll see what I mean when I use that. And along with that, I don't throw things on the floor here, we're doing good. Along with that, I have already made 4 little cabbage circles. All I did was take the ring off the top of the mason jar and trace it around on a cabbage leaf with a paring knife. And that also is put at the top of the jar with this on top of it to keep the shredded cabbage from coming to the surface. And then we have these things, which are called pickle pipes. And that's the ingenious part of the whole process as far as I'm concerned. This goes on top of your mason jar, wide mouth mason jar. I'm using liter size, and there's a very tiny hole in the top of that part that's standing up there. And once the ring is on, and that is sealed on top of the mason jar, when it starts to ferment, it produces gases, and the gases will be able to escape through that little hole, but nothing will be able to enter and contaminate the product. So, also, it can, if it works really well, if it's really fermenting fast, it can expel some liquid. So it's always good to put the jars in some kind of a container so that they don't put their pickling liquid all over everywhere. Well, let's get started on shredding some cabbage, I guess. The first thing to do here, I guess, is to try to quarter the cabbages. The purpose of quartering them is to remove this core that would be kind of topping your coleslaw. One thing about it, they would never be fresher, I guess. They've just been picked in the garden 2 or 3 hours ago. So, okay. bring you back in a few seconds when I've finished doing that to the first cabbage or two anyway. I'm going to be using, or trying to use anyway, my food processor. Makes quick order of doing it rather than chopping it all with a chef's knife or something. How much longer my food processor is going to process. I never liked this thing. Do I dare mention the brand name? KitchenAid. I've hated it since the day I bought it at Costco. Of course, it'll never die if that's the case. Full, I guess. I can keep going. What I have done is weighed out a little over 2 pounds. The instruction manual that comes with the mason tops says it 2 pounds of cabbage should make a mason jar, a quarter-liter mason jar full. So thought I would try that, and that would tell me how much to process for the rest of them. We'll see if that's enough or not. In each quart jar of cabbage, you use a tablespoon of salt, a non-iodized salt. I'm using a fine-grained sea salt. And I think I'll put some on each layer as I put that in the bowl here. I still have some more of that first lot of cabbage to shred, so I'll bring you back when I have finished shredding. That appears to be a lot of cabbage. However, once it's thoroughly mixed with the salt and you start the pounding, it should decrease in volume, I guess, as it releases some of its moisture. I'm just mixing it up by hand to get the salt well distributed. Already it's quite wet. And I think that's probably done it. Now I'll begin pounding. And I won't make you stay around until I finish my pounding. I'm trying to get some of the moisture, some of the liquid to come out of the cabbage before I put it in the jars. I don't think I mentioned, but if I get 4 jars, there are going to be 4 different flavors. In the booklet, it suggested a number of seasonings that you could add a teaspoon of to give it flavors, and I had a few of them. I don't think it mentioned fennel, but I'm going to put fennel in. And celery seed, and dill seed. And I plan to take some of my dried chili d'arbol, flake those up and add that to one of the bottles. If I get 4 bottles, that is. Yeah, that that's making it more wet. I think I've got more pounding ahead of me. I'll bring you back when I think I have this ready to season and to put it in the mason jar. Well, I've pounded it quite a bit and it's quite wet. Don't know if that's enough or not. This is a teaspoon of fennel seed. I'm going to mix those in with my hands in just a second here. 1 teaspoon of fennel. It certainly is a lot wetter than it was. So, I'll try my luck at filling the first jar, I guess. Hopefully that is still so you can see it. Turn the screen around, I'd know for sure, wouldn't I? Yeah, I guess so. Just going to put it by the handfuls down in the mason jar. And after you've compacted it, you don't fill it up to the brim. Leave some headroom for liquid to develop, and so hopefully the liquid also won't go out through the pickle pipe. It's not the end of the world if it does. Like I say, I put it in a deep container, so if anything like that does happen, it's no big problem. Sort of can hear it sloshing just a bit when I compact it. The original rim, sealer rim with the rubber on the edges of it that you use in the mason jar, you don't discard that, because once you've finished the fermentation process, I don't know if you can see that or not now, but I'm getting, when I press down, I'm getting a good amount of liquid there, so that's good. Also got quite a bit in the bottom of the bowl here where I was doing my initial pounding. Yeah, there's quite a bit of liquid in there now. I think that's about what I will put in there. It's got liquid right to the top, so that's good. Let's take a paper towel and wipe around the edge so that the pickle pipe gets a better chance to seal. One of my little circles of cabbage you can see it or not when I press down on that, there's a lot of liquid comes up. And I forgot what they call those already. They have a silly name for everything, but it's like a glass hockey puck. I didn't think a glass hockey puck would last very long. Yes. Now this this one has produced lots of liquid, so I don't suspect there will be a problem. But if you did make one and it didn't produce enough liquid to come up and cover the cabbage, you wait a couple of days, and if it still hasn't, you can make a brine and add to it. And the brine is 1 teaspoon of salt for every cup of water, and you just add enough of that to cover the cabbage, because any exposed cabbage will spoil and ruin the batch if you have some of that. So I will bring you back, not to watch all the shredding and pounding for the other ones, but I'll bring you back as I add the seasonings to them, I guess, or something like that. But one jar down and it's looking okay. Batch number 2 almost ready for the jars, salted and pounded a bit anyway. And this is a teaspoon of celery seeds. And after I hand mix them, I'll probably have most of the teaspoon of celery seeds stuck to my hands. Time will tell. Yeah, I think that's quite moist, about like the last batch was. And I will put them into a jar here. Won't make you sit through this part the next time. Watching me poke stuff into a mason jar twice must be enough, huh? It's quite juicy, I guess. Yeah, I'm getting some liquid there again. I'll bring you back when I've got another one ready to go here. Well, I won't make you watch me load this into a jar, but this is going to be the one that is flavored with my Mexican chilies, chili de árbol. They've been drying for some of these particular ones. Have been drying for probably over a month, but they're still not dry enough to crumble, so I had to slice them. Hopefully they will impart some heat. I think they probably will. I noticed cooking with this particular chili, I guess I've noticed it with other chilies too, loses a lot of its heat when you cook with it. You still get the nice flavor of the chili, but the heat seems to vanish. But there's no cooking process involved here, so I'm thinking it might make for some real spicy sauerkraut. Well, I'll get that in the jar, and then it looks like I've got cabbage enough that I'll be able to do my 4th jar too. Well, the final addition for the 4th jar is dill seed. So I'll have dill pickle flavored sauerkraut, I guess. Some cross-contamination from the other batches. There's always a little bit of stuff left over. That's a chili. This will also have a bit of a chili pepper in it. Well, I'll bring you back after I have this loaded in the jar and show you what I do with them during the fermentation phase. Well, fermentation can take anywhere from 3 weeks to a month, You also can stop it at any time that you like. If you keep tasting it and you get to a flavor that you like, you can refrigerate it, and that won't completely stop it, but it will slow it down a lot so that you can stay at that flavor. I like it as strong as possible. Mine will probably be over 3 weeks anyway. And they should be in the dark. I've put them in this stainless steel roasting pan just in case they do dispel liquid. And I will check them in a day or two just to make sure that everything is still covered with liquid, because if they should expel some liquid, there's a possibility that the top of the cabbage could be exposed, and like I said, I will add some brine. But it should be in a dark spot, so if you have a cupboard or a closet or whatever. But I'm going to put mine on the floor in the dining room, and I found another use for an Amazon box. I'll just put the box over it and that'll put them in the dark, and down that floor level will be the coolest part of the room. It will, as I say, it will ferment according to the temperature. If it was a warmer temperature, it'll go faster. So I will make another short video in 3 weeks to a month. I'll open each one up and remove the pickle pebble and the big leaf and taste them to see what I think of the 4 different flavors. Well, thank you very much for watching, and I hope you try your own sauerkraut. It's really an easy process.